Externally, the world around us has got more and more complex. We are hopefully emerging from the longest economic downturn in modern history. And arguably, we still face some of the biggest structural challenges facing retail since the emergence on the British high street of the supermarkets in the 70s and the 80s. And then, of course, there's the customer who's ever more knowledgeable, ever more demanding, and indeed at the press of a fingertip can tell us and indeed the rest of the world what they think about what we're up to, positive and negative. The value chain is more complex than it's ever been. And in fact, at its simplest level, it's still the same as it ever was. We're buying stuff, selling it for more, hopefully, than we bought it, albeit in lovely shops with great people who really know what they're talking about. And in theory, it should be that simple, but it has got really complex. And the level of activities and the impact of those activities of all the various elements of the supply chain are increasingly challenging. And the influence that we need to have from raw material right the way through the value chain to the way in which the product is disposed, recycled or upcycled is more complex than it has ever been. Well, I'm going to focus on 4 key themes that I think sum up how we're thinking about this and how I think increasingly retailers at large are thinking about this in their approach to the value chain today. The first is building relationships, and suppliers need to be part of a shared story. We want them to be with us for the long term. In fact, when we started putting together the product assortment for our 150th birthday celebrations this year, the first port of call was to go to the supply base, many of whom have supplied us for decades. And the originality of what they came up with, reimagining some of those iconic products of yesteryear, are some of the things I'm proudest of in that product offer this year. But we also need to develop new and emerging relationships with new talent. So strong and enduring relationships, many of our suppliers have worked with us for many decades, are the key to making the big decisions in this current marketplace that is so challenging. Now, relationships, of course, go hand in hand with my second theme, which is teamwork. Increasingly, retailers need to operate, retailers and suppliers, an open book approach. Shared business plans, shared objectives, feedback, and that needs to be really mutual. The relationship needs to be mutually beneficial, and enterprises need to work together to effectively and productively work through the pace of change that we now experience. And central to that, of course, is fairness. We have robust commercial conversations with our suppliers, but they have to feel fair to all parties involved for there to be the emotional engagement with the shared project. And so our supplier conferences, as a result, don't have stings in the tail. We don't lock people in a room and unlock it only when we've given up a little bit of margin. Those are open discussions with us sharing our plans for the future, what that means, where we need some support, and where we can together find ways to deal with the challenges that face our businesses. Now, that's not to say we don't run procurement initiatives like e-sourcing for certain commodity areas. And that's ultra competitive, of course, but it's fair because it's open and available and equally level playing field for all. And that fairness needs to extend into other areas, payment terms and sharing the benefits of growth through rebates. All of that has to feel as though we are in it together. Perhaps an oft-used phrase, too oft-used phrase in today's world, but it really does matter that it feels that it's fair, not soft, but fair, to increasingly characterise the dynamics of a modern business relationship. And you know, the dynamics of the business, of the value chain are more and more complex. Who makes money where is more opaque, more rapidly changing, and more complex than it's ever been. And so a fair approach encourages everybody to look to see where they can make savings, where they can make changes that we can pass on to the customer, and then how we can all benefit from that at the other end of the sausage machine.